Well, gang, 2017 is almost coming to a close, but a lot of cool Tiki activities happened this year. So on this episode of Tiki with Ray, my good friends Daren, Jamie, Margaret, and Dieter are going to join me, and we're going to take a trip down memory lane and talk about Tiki Oasis, Tiki Con, and everything in between. Hi everyone, this is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and today I am at a home tiki bar in Washougal, Washington. The name of that tiki bar is the Cave of Kungaloosh. The man who owns this place is Daren.
Hello.
But also joining us today is, please introduce yourselves.
Jamie.
Margaret.
And Dieter.
So, 2017, the year in Tiki. A lot has happened this year, and let's take it right back to the beginning. I remember the very first thing that I was able to be part of was your, how do you say it?
January.
January. Tell us all about it.
It was actually here in the Cave of Kungaloosh. The first time it's been here, but about the fifth time that I have done a luau dinner party in January, because we live in the Northwest and our weather is terrible for about 9 months of the year. So by January, we need some summer. So I throw a luau, I turn the heat up, we all dress like this, and we eat delicious, delicious food and drink delicious drinks.
It's the night of denial.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yes. We pretend that it is not crappy weather outside.
Isn't that what Tiki is all about? There's been so many times where I'll go to a Tiki bar and you go inside and like living in the Pacific Northwest, you like walk outside and you're like, yeah, that's right, it's raining still.
Still.
The worst is I did a lot of traveling like over the winter. I went down to California, went to San Francisco, Palm Springs, and like the weather's perfect. You know, this is like Thanksgiving in January, and then you come back here, it's still raining.
You're
still
like,
raining,
yeah.
still raining.
And it will until July.
So
Yeah, pretty much so.
I think this tiki thing will continue to take off, especially get big in the winter here, you know. And I think people, and there was actually a time, believe it or not, when a few of us up here were doing monthly events.
Really?
At different tiki homes. Yeah. I
Please
don't think it's
talk
yeah.
about it.
This happened a couple of years ago. I know Justin and Greg were involved with this up here who do Tiki Con. And what they were trying to do is actually host a tiki event at somebody's home every month and have a gathering. I don't think it took off that big, but I think if we actually started doing it again, I think it would happen because I think there's just such a need to like get a little bit of escapism from the dark, heavy, gloomy, dark weather during.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
we live in a place like this.
But back to
we're only in January.
Yes. So you know, one of the reasons I think we were talking about this, we wanted to do this, is because it is going to be the end of September, and it is the end of the fiscal year in our country.
Fiscal year.
Yeah, but we also officially call it the end of the fiscal Tiki year too for Tiki season because summer is over and Tiki season seems to be start in the spring and just ramp up all the way till the summer. So I think we just kind of wanted to talk with everybody about some of the highlights.
Oh my God! Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember with your, what kind? You had cake.
At January?
Yeah, it was my favorite. And cake is my favorite food.
I always do a pineapple upside down cake.
Yeah,
and this is a dinner party where I make everything. I host a lot of potlucks throughout the year. I don't let anybody bring anything to January. It's just like, it's my thing. I make all the food. But this year, actually, somebody showed up with the most delicious coconut cream pie. Yeah. And I did not complain.
My God.
That made an appearance. It was amazing.
Pineapple upside down cake.
The pineapple upside down cake I make every year.
It was so good. It was so good.
The food was awesome.
And I used the 1950 Betty Crocker cookbook recipe for that. It's old school. It's the real
appropriate.
deal. Yeah,
Very
exactly.
When is there going to be one next year?
There will be one in January. Yep, every year. That's why it's called January. I can't host it any other month of the year.
And I can't pronounce it. So.
Or spell it.
I still can't pronounce it.
Hawaii. January, Hawaii. So Tiki Con was in the first weekend in July.
Yeah.
But in mid-June, we went on a trip to California. We actually, very non-tiki, we were following Nick Cave.
Yeah.
Throughout California, but at each of the locations we went to. So we saw him in Berkeley and in San Diego and in Los Angeles. In each of those places, we met up with tiki people.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily go to tiki bars, but we met up with people that we know from the tiki world who lived in those areas. And that was kind of the cool thing on, just how everybody kind of comes together,
Yeah.
In this.
And it's great because when I travel today, anywhere in this wonderful country, that every place I go, I know people from different states, and I get to hang out with them and be with them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Las Vegas next week, and I'm hanging out with an entire crew from Las Vegas. They're into tiki. We're going to do Golden Tiki.
That's
We're
right.
going to do
Actually,
Frankie's.
And in April.
Yeah.
So even before
Yeah.
the June thing, we went
Yeah.
to Vegas just for a weekend. We did Vegas Tiki. We
Yeah.
went to Frankie's and Golden Tiki.
I will say that it was the first time that Jamie and I had ever been to Valley High in San Diego. When we went to see the Cave of the Bad Seeds,
Yeah.
we went to Valley High for our first time, and I loved it. It was
Nice.
just, I was so inspired. It was
I got
just
to
so
give
beautiful.
Mr. Valley High a great big kiss.
Yeah.
I was
And,
going to say, did you take the obligatory picture? Right?
Yep,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And then we came up to Tiki Con.
And then, we basically, Tiki Con was starting on, I don't remember, July 2nd or something.
Yeah.
And our flight out of San Francisco was July 2nd. And I volunteer every year at Tiki Con, and
Yeah.
my shift was at 2. Our plane was delayed, and I didn't get to my shift until 5. But I literally, got off the airplane, threw on a tiki dress, and ran to Tiki Con after this, week-long, tour through California. So.
I was surprised I saw you there when I was checking in, and you were so calm. You were just so calm, and you're like, you've been to this huge thing, and you're just so
I'm
calm.
like, I hadn't slept in a week at that point.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
And I have to admit, I did not go to Tiki Con's Friday night festivities. I had to work that day, and then I went straight home. That's the stupidest thing I ever did. I will never do that again because
Never worked through the event.
But I would love to hear from somebody. I mean, this year's Tiki Con, 2017 is one of the best on the planet.
I think they get better every year,
Yeah.
and I think this one was no exception. And everybody sitting here today was there.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing to talk about.
absolutely. Well, the first night was the music night. So the first band I think was the Destroyers.
I really like them.
They were great,
Yeah.
and then Justin's band, the Wannabe 52s came out,
Mm-hmm.
They were so much fun.
and they rocked
They're
the
always
house.
a good show, yeah.
And then the Verb.
The Verb Tones? Is that what they were called? Verb
I think they're
Tones?
just called the Verb with an
Okay.
apostrophe or something.
And they were
like
just
that.
a surf,
full on
It was
surf
surf,
band.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was
they-
in the Verb Tones for a little bit.
I think the Verb Tones is a different band, but
Yeah,
but no, it was great and very tiring, guys. I had no problems going to sleep that night.
I know. I think I lasted until about 11:30, and then I
Me
was
too.
like, you know what? The party's still happening, but I'm going home. I slept and came back, first thing the next day to volunteer some more.
Yeah.
And then day 2 was like symposiums with Sven Kirsten and the guy who what was the name of the guy who actually works for Trader Sam's?
Oh, Brandon, and his last name starts with a K.
Yeah, there's
I can't
2
think of his
Brandons, and
last
the other
name.
Brandon was the guy who does Geeky Tikis.
Yeah, so the Trader Sam's and Blair Reynolds from Holly Paley and
Yeah.
Sven did a symposium
So
on Trader Sam's aesthetic. It was amazing.
Yeah, we got our schooling, and then there was some like smaller room parties with Tacoma Cabana, and then Blair from
Blair was making drinks that night.
He was
That
he was
really
making
cool.
drinks by hand.
Yeah,
he was back
working
there,
his
he was
butt
behind the
off,
bar
man. It was
shaking
hilarious.
drinks, yeah.
Yeah,
It
it was
awesome.
insane. And then Charles Phoenix started the night of entertainment.
Yes, we're all Charles Phoenix fans.
Yes.
And he complimented my pantsuit, which is probably the best compliment I've ever received in my whole life.
It was
Was to
phenomenal.
have Charles Phoenix go, your pantsuit is amazing.
'Cause it was.
Did you
Yeah,
go to?
it really was, but,
Yeah.
to have
Was your
him say
response
that-
then? I know.
Yeah, exactly. And I immediately texted Margaret, and I'm like, I know you'll understand.
Yeah.
And he was selling his Pudcano,
Pudcano,
Pudcano
yes, and the
tiki mug. And just speaking of real quick, this year at
Yeah.
Tiki Farm, I mean, there was just some amazing mugs. I'm not
Wow.
Tiki Farm. I'm sorry. Montiki. There was just some amazing mugs that were just presented this
Unbelievable.
year. Yeah, and I just went ballistic when I saw them. And then this year's mug. For Tiki Con, it was just absolutely beautiful itself. So yeah, it was just really cool, and it was a great theme. I thought that the Caribbean theme was really just perfect.
Do you think when these tiki bars back in the 50s made these like tiki mugs as souvenirs that it would turn into this
Actual art.
Actual
like
art.
full on art?
They were
I doubt that was what they were thinking would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the 50s was a very disposable time, but there was a lot of extra money flowing around, and they could do something like that, whereas before it would have been seen as frivolous, with all the kind of austerity of World War II. You come after that, and it's just like we're just throwing money everywhere and having these like silly things that people really saw as I mean, these were not things they were going to keep. Thank God they did.
No, they were just take-home tchotchkes. Like,
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah. Like getting a snow globe.
Yeah.
I think we also have to say, I think one of the biggest highlights of Saturday evening was Greg and Justin getting married.
They got married.
It was just an incredible event.
We got a tiki wedding.
Yeah, we had a tiki wedding that Marina
officiated by a mermaid.
Yeah, officiated by a mermaid, and it was just beautiful and awesome. I think everybody was stifling tears.
And what was funny, so like,
I didn't stifle.
So this is
They were free flowing.
This is how it went down. So all of a sudden, the entire hall got quiet, and there all of a sudden you hear this gong, going gong. And all of a sudden, Medusa, she starts...
Medusa-rina.
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 Not to be confused with Medusa.
Not confused. And
Nobody turned to stone.
And she slowly starts dancing and working her way down towards Greg and Justin, who are both just sitting quietly on the stage. And she's going up and she's kind of doing this kind of thing. And then she has 2 drinks. And then she hands one to Justin, she hands one to Greg. And then they exchange them. And then
I think they each took a sip and then exchanged them. And took another sip.
And then she's like, and now I marry you. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, oh, she's doing the mystery bowl dance from the Minecraft. I didn't even get it. I totally didn't get it at all until after it was all done. I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's funny. So we were sitting... I don't know if we mentioned this. Greg and Justin are the coordinators for Tiki Con.
Yes.
In case anybody watching this doesn't know who we're talking about. But we were kind of up in the front, like on the dance floor, sitting there, and there was some group of women sitting next to me afterward, and I hear one of them whisper, like, I think we just saw a wedding. And I leaned over and I'm like, yes, you did. Yes. And she goes, this is my first time at Tiki Con and I just wasn't sure what was going on. And I'm like, well, welcome.
This is how we roll. Yeah. I think another part that I really loved about this year's Tiki Con is once again, a lot of people from Tiki Oasis and probably people from Caliente are now coming up to the Portland Tiki Con and having just as much fun or more fun at these events. And I think this year with Charles Phoenix and Sven Kirsten being on the bill, I mean, it just really we've been very much a legit.
We hit a level of legitimacy, I think. Not that it was not legitimate before, but there's just that name recognition.
And Tiki Con's ace in the hole is that Sunday you have the home tiki bar crawl.
Amen. Yes. Yeah.
Now get this. So what you do is a school bus shows up, and you jump on the school bus, and this school bus drives you around to all these home tiki bars. At every home tiki bar, you get a drink, and you get to drink your drink, hang out, and then you're on the bus to the next place.
And each bus, there are 3 buses. Each bus has about 50 people on it. And so I did it a couple of years ago. It was a lot of fun. And you're stopping at, the year I did it, I think we had 7 or 8 bars on it. So there's some drinking going on.
Yeah. In 2016, this actual place was a host. For one of those bar tours.
And I think you met someone very special at that.
I think I did. Yes, the volunteer here.
I mentioned that I volunteered at Tiki Con, and I started volunteering a few years ago so that I could meet more people in the scene. I just thought that'd be a fun way to meet.
Did.
That's how I met Ray. And I actually met Margaret at Tiki Con. I met Dieter through Ray. But I was placed on duty at one of these home tiki bars. And it was here.
So and that's how Jamie and I met. So it was really cool. But the funny thing about it was that 10:45, everybody comes in, first bus, and everybody's like, "Woo, yeah, hey, how's what's going on?" Con. By the third bus, I was like, I love you. Oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah, the
Oh my
first bus
God,
is like,
Tiki.
hello, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Mr. Daren Ford. Okay, this
Yep.
is a very nice place you have. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, look at
I was on cleanup
third bus.
crew,
They're
too.
like stumbling off.
We had to clean everything up after each bus, and yeah, like the first one's very easy, tidy up. We're like, this is no problem. By like the third one, yeah, we're like, I had to wipe a drink off a wall.
Oh yeah, we had some tiki fouls. We got some stuff got knocked over by third. By,
Is
by
that what
the
it's
third
called?
tour.
A tiki foul?
A tiki foul. Yeah, tiki foul. There was some droppage, but nothing got broken.
Nothing
thank
broken,
God.
but yeah, I was like, how did a drink end up down the wall? I guess that's just the way it goes.
I guess that's just tiki.
That's tiki.
Exactly.
That's tiki.
Yes.
Well, speaking of tiki debauchery and tiki fouls, you guys went to Tiki Oasis.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Debauchery? What are you talking
So I will
about?
just sit back and let you guys steer.
Well, we did a road trip to Tiki Oasis, and we for some stupid tradition reason we never go the Thursday night at Valley High, which
was a bad idea this year.
yeah, because Jello Biafra was the DJ.
So we missed
pictures of
Jello
that.
Biafra.
And I'm like, that's Jello Biafra. He's in the tiki. He's even cooler than I thought. You know?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And word on the street is like there's some, whisperings that like this might be a thing. Like perhaps he's doing this again next year and it's going to be like kind of a fixture.
I hope so.
They have Howie Pyro, from D-Generation, who's the DJ every night at Tiki Oasis. He's an old punk rock legend guy, and so you get some great, just amazing like old school punk rock people.
Have you heard this, Darren? They say tiki is the punk rock retirement program.
Yes, it is.
You know what?
I totally agree.
Yeah. Guilty.
Yeah, so we got down there Friday, and we of course we were all online when the tickets went on sale. I mean, not the tickets, the hotel went on sale for the reservation.
We had 5 people in 3 time zones.
Yeah, because basically
Getting
the
a
hotel sells out in like 30 seconds, and when we were able to land a room, of course not the quiet part, but we went and met up with some friends, and we got there Friday, and this was Jamie's first time at her event, so I'd like to hear a little bit about what she thought coming to this event.
Yeah, so I had always wanted to go to Oasis, but I didn't really know anybody else in the scene, so just kind of showing up alone never seemed like that exciting. But, I've through Tiki Con have gotten to know more people in there, so, having the opportunity to go this year was really, really cool. I was very bummed about missing out on Jello Biafra. I did have an experience with him, though, through the weekend, so that was good.
Do tell.
But, well, so first, our room overlooked the stage, which was really awesome. So we didn't spend a whole, we weren't down, where everybody's dancing and, but we got to see all the bands.
Yeah.
Because we just walked out on our balcony and they were literally right below us. And then the pool was over there. So we had a great view of all of the festivities, you know, where we were at. And there's tons of room parties. So we got to go to a bunch of those. That was really fun. My Jello Biafra experience is actually on Sunday. There wasn't a whole lot going on during the day. Things are winding down. So we're doing a lot of, we're doing
Still the best day to go to
shopping.
Tiki Oasis, though, is Sunday.
So we're shopping again because there's like a lot of shopping there, so we're kind of like doing the kind of last rounds through there, and then I see Jello, and I've been seeing him off and on all weekend, but I'm like, I'm not gonna like chase him down like a fangirl, but now he's like 10 feet away from me.
Yeah.
So and lots of people have been posting pictures with him. I'm like, great. I go up and I put my hand on his shoulder and I was like, excuse me, can I interrupt you for a minute? And he went, no, and turned around and walked away from me.
Wow.
And I was like, alrighty then.
Well, there you go.
That was my Jello experience. If he's
Hey, at
DJing
least he
again,
talked
you know
to
what? Exactly. I still got to touch Jello. I still love Jello, and I will still be excited if he DJs again. I will go.
How many people go to Tiki Oasis?
It's probably, I've heard like 10,000.
I've heard up to 10,000 people have been at that event.
10,000.
But you know what? Honestly, it didn't seem that
Crowded.
big, and it didn't
Yeah.
seem overwhelming, because that was my thing. That's what kept me from going just by myself before I really knew many people in the scene, because I just thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be so overwhelming because there's so many people. It seemed like it was going to be going to visit like, I don't know, just like some big city or something on my own, which I don't have a problem doing, but for whatever reason it felt daunting. When I got there, I was like, it still kind of feels like Tiki Con. I think this year was our biggest year, and we had, 500 or 600 people.
It's definitely a lot more low key than some.
Yeah,
It's
Tiki
very
Caliente, they actually cap at 600. So I'm used to, like that's the size of event that, I am accustomed to in Tiki. So going to this one that was so much larger, had so much more going on, honestly, it didn't feel like being there. It didn't feel that much different. Yes, it's bigger. Yes, there's more stuff. Yes, there's more people. But it's still just such like a chill crowd that it was like, it didn't have that sense of overwhelm that I thought I was going to have not having been there before. So
and I think the best part of Tiki Oasis, my favorite pieces, well, not only the vendors, because I mean there's just so many amazing artists and work that you can get there. And this year's mug, I think every year they always one up it, but this year's mug was just amazing.
Wow.
it was the espionage team,
international
so.
intrigue. And you open it up, and it says in the front, drink before. Drink if captured, so it's the poison, and then you got codes on one side and a tape recorder on the other, and it's all hidden by the head. So every year their themes are just crazy and wonderful, and then 1 year, a couple years ago, it was the flying saucer theme, and I think it was Future Here Today, I think, or something like that. It was, so their themes are great and their mugs are just amazing. So the artwork is amazing, but my favorite thing are the room parties. I mean, Tiki Oasis room parties are just the best. All the years I've been going, you get to see some of your favorite bands in these venues the size of basically my room down here, the Cave of Kungaloosh, and
their hotel rooms.
Have
been transformed into party rooms.
And, exactly. And Tikiyaki Orchestra, or not the orchestra, but the Tikiyaki, the smaller version, 5.0, played one night. My highlight this year was Deadbolt.
Deadbolt
Deadbolt
and
played.
We were we were here to them. He's like singing in our faces, like at this room party.
And the best part was they have this thing where they hairspray each other's hair while they're performing.
And they hairsprayed Daren's hair.
Yeah, and Harley goes, "Come here," to me. And I went and he just starts hairspraying my hair. And then the bass player grabbed the comb and said,
"That's a mess.
Your hair's a mess," and started combing my hair. And it was just crazy. So
I heard the 5, 6, 7, 8s play.
5, 6, 7, 8s. They did not play a room party. They played on the main stage.
So we had a view. We went out on the balcony.
So there's a main stage where actual.
Yes.
Yeah, and so all kind of the headline bands are there, and then there's all these other bands which are still any of these bands could be on the main stage, but they're in room parties.
Adrian had a room party this year for Inside the Desert Oasis.
I saw pictures.
Yeah, and of course he won a bunch of awards, which he deserved, and his room was amazing, and he had great bands that played there, and it was just awesome. So,
and if you follow Inside the Desert Oasis on Facebook, you can actually see how his room was put together, because he did win the award for best looking room, whatever the category was.
It was like being at a tiki bar.
Best decorated room. And he had the kind of how they built out a hotel room to, to be able to get all the stuff in there and take it out without damaging the hotel room. And he had all the how-to stuff on there, which was really interesting.
And one thing that I would like to recommend is Sunday has always been the day that it's Tiki Oasis winds down, but people now stay the night on Sunday. We stayed the night Sunday. And they still have shows and performances going on Sunday night. Jelly Offer DJ'd that night. The music was great. The vendors are open till 5. There's still stuff that's going on, and I still think it's kind of become my favorite day.
Event.
Yeah. Well, there's a rumor they're extending it, and I guarantee you, somewhere down the line, the event's going to be a week long. In San Diego.
A week of tiki debauchery.
A week of tiki. I don't know if I can do it.
I think what that shows is that there's people that are interested in this stuff, and it's I hope there's more tiki conventions.
Yeah.
Just have more of them across the year. I hear that there's going to be a tiki convention in Las Vegas.
Oh,
yeah, Billy Crud.
Yeah, so
Billy
this
Crud's
one is supposed to be, it's the first weekend in September. The first one is not, we're in September right now. So in a year is that first one, the 7th and 8th or something around there.
Yeah, I know Viva Las Vegas happens there, and that's a huge event. And if
That
Las Vegas can handle something that size, it can handle anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to see how that goes. Can I ask a question for everybody?
Yeah.
What is anybody looking forward to in the future? What
Tiki events coming
in the
up?
future? Yeah. What tiki events do people have?
Next year's Tiki Con.
Of course, Tiki Con.
Yeah.
It's a given.
Okay.
I personally am looking forward to maybe going to Tiki Oasis or trying some other tiki
Caliente.
bars.
And don't forget the Hukilau.
The Hukilau and
The Hukilau
Florida.
is over in Fort Lauderdale.
That's my that's my focus. Like I
would love to go to that
so
one
badly.
really
all the way
bad.
across the country.
My attitude, and let's be honest, I mean, a very, very bad hurricane blew through Florida.
Yeah.
And when that was going on, it was going right through Fort Lauderdale. And I'm just like, please
Leave the Maikai
leave the
alone.
Maikai. And then once I heard after it was all said and done, I'm like, yep, the Maikai is good. We're all,
All was right in the world.
one tiki was destroyed.
Yeah, I heard it was fine. Yeah, there wasn't, people wanted do some Marina to check in safe, and she finally did check in safe. I think a lot of people were really worried about her and her family.
Scary. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to some people, and they're like, "Don't worry, it's a steel frame. The place is."
You imagine
the place is
it's
solid.
lasted this long through however many hurricanes it's lasted through.
Yeah, but
So-
let's be honest. If you haven't been to the Maikai, that needs to be number one on your bucket list. You need to go and see this place because there is literally nothing like it. And Hukilau would be a perfect opportunity to go because it happens at Hukilau is at the Maikai.
Yeah, and I think that one's in June.
Yeah.
So like kind of the tiki season that we were talking about, Caliente in Palm Springs is in May. Hukilau in Florida is in June.
Yeah, there's Luau on the lake, which is up in Lake George, I think, is in New York.
Okay, see, and I'm not familiar with that one.
And I think actually
When
the
is that?
Moai,
I know that there's a few others
fraternal-
like in the middle of the country.
yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
and
Well,
I don't
there's
know
the
where they
Fraternal
are.
Order of Moai, and and they actually put on. I think they actually put on that event, and there's a couple other things that they do too.
Cool.
And they're they're like more Midwest.
Yeah, so I felt like I heard one that is in like Ohio or thereabouts, and I don't
Yeah,
really
it's
know
some kind of like
where
cool
or
sport,
what
though.
it
I think it was
is.
called Hula Hop or something like that. Or
Yeah, I
something.
think it is something like that. I just kind of, through the magic of the internet, kind of heard about it, but I don't really know anything about it.
And there's one going on in Hawaii, I think.
Really?
Yeah, there is one. I mean, I was
There's
looking.
tiki in
Yeah,
Hawaii?
Tom Laura Big Toe was doing it. Yeah, but no, they're having like an actual tiki artist event, and some of the people that I know that Bosco's going to be there, and I know that Tom Laura Big Toe is going to be doing that, and I think also, oh God, I'm going brain dead. My guy back here on the wall.
Doug Horn.
Yeah, Doug Horn, and Doug Horn's going to be at
Oh,
that
I thought
event.
you meant Vincent Price.
Vincent Price
Vincent
will be
Price,
there.
yeah. Doug Horn, I know
He
that
looks
those-
scary.
Is
You
that
know what?
Vincent Price from the Brady Bunch episode?
This is Vincent Price now.
Yeah, but I do know that they're going to be doing this event in Hawaii. I just saw the event, and I can't remember what it was called because just my bandwidth weekend. But yeah, so there are other just amazing events going on.
They're actually in about 2 weeks. The Art of the Tiki. Over
Oh, yeah.
at
That's right, the
Gallery
Art of the
de la
Tiki.
Luz, in Los Angeles, and like Shag will be there.
Yeah.
Otto from Oasis will be there.
Our friend
So
Andrew.
this is a big,
When
like
is
kind
that?
of tiki art. The opening is October 6th.
Oh.
And it, I believe it's up throughout the month of October,
Okay.
and it's just a tiki art event at a gallery. So a show.
Yeah, and we got a preview of the event when we were actually Tiki Oasis because Sven, Otto, and
Yeah.
They did a book, of course.
Shag did a book, and they were pushing the book, of course. But it was a lot of fun, and we just got a little bit of the highlights. And I thought there was a really touching, beautiful moment. Otto and Shag kind of told a very deep personal story about how
How they met, basically.
how they met and how
Wow.
Otto was really kind of pushing Shag to start showing his work. And Shag was like, I don't know, maybe, I'm a graphic artist. I don't know if I can do this. And Otto just kept pushing him. And then finally, that first event they did back in like 1996,
It was 96.
I think was kind of what kind of rocketed. And it was beautiful because Shag looked at Otto and said, you basically are the one that got me where I am today. The
Otto-
audience just clapped, it was just really cool.
How do you say his name? Otto von Stromheim? Is that how you say it? Or
I just call him Otto.
I think it's Von Stroheim.
really need to give a shout out to this guy because he doesn't. This guy is the guy who is behind Tiki News, which was a fanzine that came out in the early '90s. The only thing Tiki related at all going on in the early '90s was this little fanzine. Little 11 by 17 sheets folded in half, talking about Tiki.
I had that fanzine. back in the 90s, and I had my first tiki party back when I was, I think, 25 or 26, somewhere around there. And because I couldn't afford any of the stuff that was in here because I was in my 20s, still going to college and trying to figure things out. The only thing I could afford, and Autumn had written in there how to put on a tiki party, was lighting. So I went and bought red, green, and yellow bulbs and put them in my
Change out the light
house.
bulbs.
And that
Call
was
it
the
good.
only thing tiki I had. And I had the album by Combustible Edison, which has Theme for Tiki Wonder Hour, and I just put that on and played that over and over again because that's all I had. But I had about 30
Baby
people
steps, right?
show up for a
Yeah.
tiki party at my house. But it was thanks to that fanzine that I was able to throw my first tiki party.
You've
Well,
come
it's
a long
funny.
way.
At
And
that-
thank
Yes.
you for sharing some of your wonderful
course.
tiki art here with us that
Thank
we can
you.
sip through.
Oh, it's an honor, you guys.
And if you don't know, Otto and I guess Baby Doe
Yeah.
are the people behind Tiki Oasis.
Yes.
Well, in that symposium they went to that they were talking about the Art of the Tiki book and then and this art show that will be in LA starting next week. They talked about kind of how that all began, and it was basically these different people who just kind of knew each other from around town. And then they found out that they each collected tiki mugs, and like there were like 9 people that collected tiki mugs back in the day. And so he would have a barbecue like in the backyard, and they would have like a tiki mug trade. So everybody would just like bring a mug they wanted to swap out, and they had this like
Wow.
tiki mug swap. And that's basically like this little barbecue. You know, if you go way back into the origin story of Tiki Oasis, that's how it
but
started.
what's really interesting here, though, is I bet you $1 million, just at the time, the internet was not exploding and we didn't have this kind of communication revolution. But I think all over the country this was going on. We just didn't have...
we didn't have the
internet
communication
and clubs
that we
and
have
stuff like
now.
that. But they were doing that. But when I was in Las Vegas at the time, and Shag was actually doing the flyers for shows that we were playing on or going to at the time, and his work was already apparently going tiki bands like the Bomboras, the Mummies were coming up and playing all the time, and he was doing the artwork for those at that time. So there was a small community going on, and living in Las Vegas at the time, we were talking about, basically tearing out old structures and putting in new ones. There were still tiki bars that were still kind of kitschy and part of remnants of the old 50s and 60s era, and we would go in with big backpacks, order a scorpion bowl or order some of these stuff and take these and put them on our backpacks and run out. We would steal tiki mugs because that was the only way. We could find them in stores, but I mean the really, really cool ones were still being used actually as things to drink in, as we were talking. They weren't they were artifacts, but they were still in utility,
Yeah.
So we were stealing them at the time because that was the only way we could get them. We even took a bar very similar to the to Danny's bar and placed it in my backyard in the 20s and had people come over and try to create this scene because I was going. So I think a lot of communities were doing this, and then finally, through the wonders of communication, we were able to all kind of get connected together.
Yeah, I hear you. For me, for years, I've been into tiki about a decade now, and for me, for a long time, I just like going to tiki bars.
Yep.
And it wasn't until only a couple of years ago that I realized that there was a lifestyle, that you could make this more than just drinking rum at a bar. And I'll tell you what, if you want to experience the tiki lifestyle in its full effect, check out one of these tiki conventions. There is nothing like it. Nothing like it at all.
No, that's my interest in tiki goes back to when I was like 7 years old.
7 years old.
My uncle moved to Hawaii, so I was obsessed with Hawaii because my favorite uncle lived in Hawaii. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I even knew that, I knew there were tiki bars and stuff, and I went to them, but I didn't know that there was an actual scene.
Yep.
And I was actually in downtown Vancouver, where I live, at a coffee shop, and I'm seeing all these people in Hawaiian shirts, and I finally, it was just, we had our Pride weekend was that, and so I'm down there for Pride, and I'm seeing all these people in Hawaiian shirts, and finally I just stopped somebody, and I was like, what's with all of the people, and tell me what's going on, and they were like, oh, there's this, this event down the road at Tiki Con at this hotel.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to be there, and I just wandered down and looked around, and I'm like, I gotta be here. And so I followed them on Facebook that afternoon, found out when to, I had reminders in my phone, do this thing next year. And that was, the first year I went was 5 years ago.
And look at Tiki brought you two together.
There you go.
Yeah.
My grandfather had a tiki bar in his backyard. He's a World War II vet.
Yeah.
He had a mid-century home, West Covina. I grew up in that bar. I had dinner in that bar almost every night. I played cards in that bar. I lived in that bar. We had seashells for ashtrays. We had a beautiful kidney bean pool, jungle, banana trees in the backyard. I mean, it was just a regression to my childhood that I'm just reenacting every day now, because it was a really cool, absolutely wonderful time. So I mean, that spirit of tiki has been with me. It was ironically enough, though, I dropped out of that scene for a long time when I was going to college and doing all this stuff. It was actually Devin who did some of the art for Haley Paley, who had a booth at Tiki Con many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I came and I showed up not knowing anybody there and not connected with the scene in any way, because I'd been out of it for such a long time. And he looked at me and it was just a beautiful thing. He said, "Dude, why are you not doing this anymore?" And I kind of walked away from Tiki Con that day and said, "Why am I not back in this again?" And that's what he was kind of the one that really inspired me to get back into it and start doing it again. And it's the greatest gift ever given because of that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, 2017 was a blast.
It was.
2018, here we come.
It
And
will
with that,
also be a blast.
Aloha,
Mahalo,
and all that other crap.
Please don't clink these.
Yeah, we're
No,
not
we're not going to do this.
Cheers, everybody.
All right, cheers.
Hunter Trio.